Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to General Hospital latest episode. After General Hospital's January 26th episode aired, many fans believe that Sonny Corinthos, played by Maurice Benard, may die soon. Considering who was involved in the plan to take him down, fans believe that their favorite mob boss's future looks uncertain. But will Sonny go down that easily? General Hospital's January 26th episode has led to fans worrying about Sonny's fate in the coming weeks, fearing that he may die. While he had a lot of enemies in the past, recent development indicates that his future looks bleak. For context, Marco decides to go behind his father, Sidwell's back, on Monday's episode. He summons Callum to Windermere to talk about his plans. He tells the WSB director that his father underestimates Sonny and explains that keeping him alive outweighs the risk of using him to their advantage. While Marco admits that he is more than happy to see Sonny suffer for his mother's death, he says he's a risk for the business. He suspects that Sonny is only pretending to cooperate with Sidwell while secretly planning retaliation. With the future of the project at stake, Marco insists that it doesn't make sense to ignore Sonny's capabilities. In the end, he says that blackmailing Sonny won't be enough and urges Callum to take the mob boss out of the equation for good. Callum may be a new addition to the show, but his presence has already proven that he is dangerous and unpredictable. As a result, many fans believe that Callum is capable of taking Sonny down. However, Sonny is not new to people trying to kill him. He has dealt with many dangerous people in the past and has come out victorious. The question is, will he be able to hold himself against the WSB director? That remains to be seen. Currently, there are no hints by Benard or the writers that the character is leaving the show, so it's reasonable to assume that Sonny will stick around for a while. Nonetheless, this conversation has opened up a world of possibilities where the story could be headed. Will Callum follow through with Marco's plans, or will he go to Sidwell with it? Keep watching General Hospital on ABC to find out.
Keep watching General Hospital on ABC to find out. Because if there's one thing longtime viewers know, it's that when Sonny Corinthos appears cornered, that's usually when he's the most dangerous. While Marco believes eliminating Sonny is the only way to protect the future of Sidwell's operation, there's a crucial detail he may be overlooking. Sonny has survived assassination attempts, betrayals from within his own family, government conspiracies, and even supposed deaths that fooled nearly everyone in Port Charles. If Callum thinks Sonny is just another target, he may be making the biggest mistake of his career. Behind the scenes, Sonny is already sensing that something is off. His conversations with Jason and Dante have taken on a more cautious tone, and subtle clues suggest that Sonny suspects there's a deeper game being played. The way he questions loyalties, tests alliances, and quietly gathers information shows that he's preparing for something much bigger than a simple power struggle. Meanwhile, Callum's inner conflict is growing by the day. Though he presents himself as cold and efficient, his hesitation in previous operations hints that he may not be as ruthless as Marco believes. The pressure from Marco to eliminate Sonny could push Callum into a decision that changes everything, not just for Sonny, but for the entire WSB operation. What makes the storyline even more dangerous is Sidwell's blindness to his son's actions. Sidwell believes he has full control over the situation, unaware that Marco is already moving pieces on the board behind his back. If Sidwell discovers Marco's plan too late, the fallout could be catastrophic, possibly turning father against son in a brutal internal war. At the same time, Sonny's personal life is becoming another vulnerability. His strained relationships with his children, his fragile trust in those closest to him, and his complicated feelings about loyalty could all be used against him. Callum doesn't need a bullet to destroy Sonny. Sometimes the right piece of information can be just as deadly. But Sonny has one advantage no one else does: experience. He knows what it feels like to be hunted. He knows how to fake weakness, and he knows how to let his enemies believe they've already won. There's a strong possibility that Sonny is intentionally playing along with Sidwell's demands, allowing Marco and Callum to believe he's under their control, while secretly building a counterstrike that could dismantle the entire operation from the inside. If that's the case, then Marco's plan to kill Sonny may end with him exposing himself as the real target. And then there's the question no one is asking yet. What if Callum doesn't go through with it? What if instead of killing Sonny, he warns him? A single moment of hesitation could flip the entire story on its head. Callum could become Sonny's unexpected ally, or he could become the man responsible for the biggest bloodbath Port Charles has seen in years. As the tension builds, every conversation, every glance, and every secret meeting will matter. One wrong move could cost Sonny his life, or it could cost Marco everything. One thing is certain: this is not the end of Sonny Corinthos. This is the beginning of his most dangerous war yet. And in Port Charles, wars are never clean. They are personal.
And for Sonny Corinthos, this war is about to become more personal than ever before. Because while Marco and Callum are debating strategies and weighing risks, Sonny is already 3 steps ahead, quietly mapping out every possible betrayal. He has learned over decades in the mob that the most dangerous enemy is not the one holding the gun, but the one pretending to be your ally. In the days following that tense conversation at Windermere, Sonny begins to notice a subtle shift in the way Sidwell's people move around him. Meetings are suddenly rescheduled, messages are delayed, familiar faces are replaced with strangers who ask too many questions and listen a little too carefully. These are the kinds of details most men would miss, but not Sonny. He starts running his own silent investigation. Jason is the first person he trusts with his suspicions. In a quiet meeting away from prying eyes, Sonny tells Jason that he believes Sidwell is no longer interested in partnership, but in control. Jason agrees. He's noticed surveillance patterns that don't match standard protection. Someone is watching Sonny not to protect him, to study him. At the same time, Dante begins receiving fragmented intelligence from federal contacts, suggesting that the WSB is deeply embedded in Sidwell's operation. What worries Dante most is not the presence of the WSB, but the possibility that someone inside the agency has gone rogue. And when Dante mentions Callum's name, Sonny's expression changes, because Sonny already knows that name. Years ago, Callum was involved in a covert operation that nearly cost one of Sonny's allies their life. Sonny remembers the file, he remembers the mistakes, and he remembers that Callum has always been a man who follows orders until he decides not to. That's when Sonny realizes something crucial. This is not just Sidwell's plan. This is Marco's. And Marco is acting out of emotion, not strategy. While Marco believes he's protecting his father's legacy, he's actually exposing it to collapse. His obsession with revenge for his mother's death is clouding his judgment, and Sonny intends to use that. Sonny begins feeding Marco carefully crafted information, small leaks, half-truths, enough to make Marco believe that Sonny is growing desperate and cornered, enough to make Marco push Callum harder. And Marco does exactly that. In another secret meeting, Marco tells Callum that time is running out. Sidwell is growing suspicious. If Sonny is allowed to survive much longer, he will turn the tables. Marco demands that Callum act within 48 hours. Callum agrees. But what Marco doesn't know is that Callum has already made contact with someone else, Anna Devane. Callum approaches Anna under the guise of routine intelligence sharing, but his questions reveal more than he intends. He asks about Sonny's past dealings with the WSB, about covert operations that were never officially documented, about how far Sonny would go to protect his family. Anna senses immediately that Callum is conflicted, and that conflict is dangerous. She warns him that killing Sonny will not end the war, it will start a much bigger one, because Sonny's death would trigger retaliation not just from his allies, but from enemies who would scramble to fill the power vacuum. Port Charles would become a battlefield. Callum leaves that meeting shaken. For the first time, he begins to question Marco's plan. Meanwhile, Sidwell finally starts to sense that something is wrong. He notices Marco's increasing secrecy, his unexplained absences, his obsession with Sonny. When Sidwell confronts his son, Marco lies. He says he's strengthening their position, but Sidwell knows his son too well. He orders his own men to watch Marco. Now the board is set. Sonny, Marco, Callum, Sidwell, the WSB, and the Corinthos family are all moving pieces towards the same collision. And the first crack appears when one of Sonny's shipments is intercepted. Not by Sidwell's men, by the WSB. This tells Sonny everything he needs to know. The agency is no longer neutral. Someone inside wants him dead. Sonny accelerates his plan. He arranges a meeting with Sidwell, presenting himself as cooperative, even submissive. He offers concessions, routes, and access to his network. Sidwell believes he's finally broken Sonny. But what Sidwell doesn't realize is that every piece of information Sonny offers is designed to expose Marco. That night, Sonny meets privately with Carly. He tells her that the coming days will be dangerous. He warns her to protect the children, to trust no one, and to prepare for the possibility that he may have to disappear temporarily. Carly refuses to accept that. She tells Sonny that running has never saved him before. She tells her that if this is the war that finally takes him down, she will stand with him to the end. At the same time, Callum prepares for the assassination. The location is chosen carefully, a warehouse near the docks. Remote, controlled, clean. Callum plans to lure Sonny there under the pretense of a final negotiation with Sidwell. Marco believes this is the end, but he is wrong, because Sonny already knows about the meeting, and he is planning to attend, but not as the victim. He arrives with Jason hidden nearby, with Dante coordinating surveillance, and with a secret recording device meant to capture every word Callum and Marco say. The goal is not to survive. The goal is to destroy them, legally, politically, and criminally. When Callum meets Sonny at the warehouse, tension fills the air. The gun is hidden. The signal is ready. Callum hesitates. He looks at Sonny, and in that moment, he sees not a mob boss, but a man who has survived every trap ever set for him. Callum makes a choice. He does not pull the trigger. Instead, he warns Sonny, and that single decision changes everything. Because Marco is already moving in, gun drawn, rage in his eyes. The confrontation explodes into chaos. Shots are fired. Jason intervenes. Marco is wounded. Callum is exposed. Sidwell's men arrive. The WSB descends. And in the middle of it all, Sonny disappears. When the smoke clears, Marco is arrested. Callum is taken into custody. Sidwell is left facing charges he never saw coming. And Sonny Corinthos is officially declared missing. Dead. But only a handful of people know the truth. Sonny is alive. In hiding, watching, waiting. Because the war is not over. It has only changed shape. And when Sonny returns, it will not be for revenge.
The official story spreads quickly. A violent confrontation at the docks, multiple arrests, an explosion of criminal charges, and one powerful mob boss who vanished without a trace. The police close the case as an unsolved presumed death, and the underworld begins to shift almost immediately. Power vacuums never stay empty for long. With Sonny gone, rival families start circling his territory like vultures. Old enemies resurface. New players step out of the shadows. Deals are broken, alliances collapse, and violence begins to rise across the city. Everyone believes the king is gone. Everyone except the people who matter. In a remote safe house far from Port Charles, Sonny watches the chaos unfold on a muted television screen. His face is bruised, his shoulders still bandaged from the warehouse confrontation, but his eyes are sharper than ever. This disappearance was not an accident. It was the final move in a plan he had been preparing for years. Because Sonny finally understands something. As long as he is visible, he will always be a target. But as a ghost, he becomes something far more dangerous. Jason is the only one who knows Sonny's exact location. They communicate through a rotating system of burners and dead drops, changing patterns every 48 hours. Even Carly does not know where he is, and that is deliberate, because the fewer people who know the truth, the safer everyone will be. Back in Port Charles, the fallout continues. Marco's arrest sent shockwaves through Sidwell's empire. Under interrogation, Marco initially refuses to talk, but the weight of betrayal, guilt, and fear begins to break him down. He realizes too late that he was never in control. He was just another piece on someone else's board. Callum, now in federal custody, becomes the most valuable witness the WSB has had in years. He starts talking. He reveals the internal corruption, the rogue operations, the illegal blackmail network, the secret agreements with organized crime, and most importantly, he reveals that Sidwell ordered far more than just Sonny's death. This triggers a massive internal investigation. Agents are suspended, files disappear, and the WSB begins tearing itself apart from the inside. Sidwell, sensing the walls closing in, makes one final attempt to save himself. He orders hits on both Marco and Callum to silence them permanently. But those orders are intercepted. For the first time in decades, Sidwell realizes that he is no longer the hunter. He is the hunted. Meanwhile, Carly is living a life of controlled grief. In public, she mourns Sonny. In private, she runs his empire. She keeps the organization stable, fends off rival families, and pretends to fall apart just enough to convince everyone that Sonny is truly gone. But every night, she waits for a single coded message that tells her he is still alive. And one night, it finally comes. 2 words. Still breathing. That is all she needs. Dante, working from inside the police department, begins to quietly dismantle the criminal network that rose in Sonny's absence. He feeds Sonny information through Jason, mapping out every new player, every betrayal, every weakness. Because Sonny is not planning a comeback. He is planning a purge. Months pass. Sidwell is indicted. Marco accepts a plea deal. Callum enters witness protection, and Port Charles begins to believe that the war is finally over. That is when Sonny makes his first move. Not with a gun, with a name. A sealed envelope arrives at the district attorney's office containing financial records that expose 3 powerful businessmen as the true financiers behind the city's criminal resurgence. None of those records could have come from anyone still alive. The message is clear. Sonny Corinthos is still in the game, and he is watching everyone. One by one, rival leaders are arrested, disgraced, or forced to flee. Deals collapse overnight.
Entire organizations fall without a single bullet fired. This is Sonny's new strategy. No blood, only collapse. When the city is finally quiet again, Sonny prepares to return, not as a mob boss, as a man who has outgrown the throne. In his final conversation with Jason, Sonny admits the truth. He is tired. He has spent his entire life fighting wars that never truly ended. This disappearance has shown him something he never allowed himself to see. The world moves on without him, and maybe that is the only way it can finally be at peace. Sonny returns to Port Charles in secret. He meets Carly alone. He tells her that he is stepping away. No more empire, no more crown. He will protect his family, but he will no longer rule. Because this time, survival is not victory. Freedom is. And as the sun rises over Port Charles, Sonny Corinthos walks into a future no one ever believed he would choose. A life without war.